Joel Klatt, Fox Sports lead college football analyst, will join us coming up here in a moment. I'm going to try to go the entire interview and not ask him a question. But is that an interview if I don't ask him a question? It's a conversation. I'm not even going to give him a talk about here. Michael in Iowa joins us. Hey, Mike, what do you have for me today?
Hey, Dan. 5'9", 160. So you guys have been talking about how you don't say talk about, you actually should ask a question. And you also touched on the situation in the Super Bowl where you didn't get to ask Nick Foles about his daughter.
Yeah.
And another thing you always mention on your show is to not give up the microphone when you're interviewing somebody if they want to grab it from you.
Yeah.
Well, another situation in the Super Bowl, you were talking to Jeffrey Lurie, and he ended up grabbing the microphone and kind of forced it away from you. And I was wondering how maybe you'd handle that situation differently in the future and what kind of that situation.
Well,
why, in fact, you don't give up the microphone?
Well, because I have an allotted amount of time. So that's why, and thanks for the phone call, Michael. So if I give up the microphone, then all of a sudden you have, and it's normally owners who want to grab the microphone because they don't get a chance. It's their moment. And Jeffrey Lurie, and granted, it's a great moment, and he said, look, prior to the ceremony starting, he said, look, I have somebody I want to thank, so just make sure I get the time to do it. And I thought, great. And I asked him a couple of questions. I waited for him to thank whoever he was going to thank, and then he grabbed the microphone. So he surprised me because I thought that he had done what he wanted to do. But I don't want to rip it out of your hands because he wanted to pay tribute to his parents. So he surprised me. I had Robert Kraft, who tried to grab it. One of the Giants owners, Steve Tisch, he grabbed it. Now, I have to pull it without making it seem like there's a tug of war on national TV. And with Robert Kraft and Steve Tisch, I have to let them know that they're not getting the microphone because Robert Kraft really wanted the moment. But we only have a certain amount of time. And I got to get the owner. I'll get the quarterback if he's not the MVP. If he is the MVP, then I might get one or two other players. And with the Patriots, I had Belichick, I had Gronk, I had Brady, and I believe Edelman might have been up there as well. It's just, it happens so quickly. And I've only got I got two questions, maybe three for the MVP, two questions, and then throw it back upstairs. And that surprised me. But yes, I have had the tug of war with the microphone twice in handing out the Super Bowl trophy. Joel Klatt, Fox Sports lead college football analyst. He's on the call with the Red River Rivalry showdown between number 19 Texas, number 2 Oklahoma. That's on Fox at noon Eastern. Coverage begins at 10 a.m. Eastern with Fox Sports 1, 2-hour edition of Fox College Football pregame from the State Fair of Texas, continuing at 11 a.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and Fox. All right, Joel, good morning. Let's play Finish That Statement.
Good morning.
All right, you ready?
Hey, can I jump in real quick, Dan?
Yes.
You were just talking about trophy presentations. They're really nerve-wracking. So I have to do it at the Big Ten, not nearly the level of the Super Bowl, but a quick story that I think that you're going to find humorous, because you were talking about giving up the microphone. It's like the cardinal sin of hosting the trophy presentation. Well, last year, I committed even the worst sin. I had them throw me the broadcast on the stage before I knew who the MVP was. And so they said, hey, are you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. And then all of a sudden I get the show, and I don't have talk-back communication with the producer. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, my gosh, I have no idea who the MVP is. I'm trying to look at the Jumbotrons to see, are they putting it up early? So I had to make the executive decision that Jim Delaney, the commissioner of the Big Ten, he's getting the mic because I got to dive behind him and ask Archie Griffin who the MVP is, who was giving the trophy away. So I give Jim the mic, dive back. I ask Archie who the MVP is. He says, J.K. Dobbins. I kind of grabbed him by the shoulders, and I looked at him in this panic mode, and I said, Archie, are you sure? And he looked at me shocked, and he was like, I think so. And so I said J.K. Dobbins with 56% belief that was the MVP. But anyways, I wanted to share that with you. We've shared that experience.
When the Steelers beat Arizona in the Super Bowl, and I thought Ben Roethlisberger was going to be the MVP, and he should have been, but we get to right before the trophy presentation, and I have to, pay homage and talk about the Super Bowl MVP. I don't know who it is. Nobody's told me who it is. There's chaos getting up on the podium. Absolute chaos.
Right.
And I'm yelling, and it's so loud. I said, who is the MVP to whoever will listen to me? And Roethlisberger comes up, and I think Ben thinks he's the MVP. And then I see Santonio Holmes. I think he thinks he's the MVP. And so I'm yelling, who is the MVP? And I finally get this voice, Holmes. And I go, oh, my God. And then the commissioner comes up. The ceremony starts with Joe Namath bringing the trophy up. And I'm going, golly. Because it was such an unbelievable finish. And then here I am going, I don't even know who the MVP is. So
right.
I understand, that pain that you were feeling. All right. Finish the sentence.
Okay.
If Texas beats Oklahoma, ...
They will be back. We've been talking about this forever, right? For almost a decade, we've been waiting for Texas to be back. And that's always the big deal. But the bottom line is, after a decade of waiting and maybe even wandering through the desert of football there in Austin, Texas, they're 60 minutes away from being back. And you could say, listen, they've beaten Oklahoma before in the last couple of years. Yes, but this is different. This time they're ranked. This time they're on a 4-game winning streak. This time they've beaten TCU. They've beaten USC. That's 2 ranked wins this season. This time they would be putting themselves squarely in the conversation for the Big 12 title. And, Dan, even the playoff with the resume that they're starting to build. So if Texas wins, they're back.
If Kentucky beats A&M.
Oh, gosh. Panic. Because then you have to have the actual scenario in your head that if they were to upset Georgia, Alabama would have to play Kentucky in the SEC championship game. And nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see Alabama hang half 100 on Kentucky.
If Virginia Tech beats Notre Dame, or vice versa.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. I'll be shocked if Virginia Tech beats Notre Dame. This is the team that gave up 60 points, or 600 yards at Old Dominion, so I'll be shocked. I think Notre Dame's a bona fide playoff team.
Yeah, it just feels like it's a tricky game. It's the quarterbacking situation. It seems like Notre Dame's found their quarterback. Virginia Tech lost their quarterback. But I don't know. It's just Notre Dame always has one of these games, it feels like, every year.
Almost every team does when you really think about it. Even Alabama has not been immune to one of, quote unquote, one of these games. So I hear you, and it's not an easy place to play. I will tell you, though, that the insertion of Ian Book in the lineup has just changed my whole outlook for Notre Dame, because now all of a sudden they're explosive offensively. In their first 3 games, Dan, they scored 70 total points. In their last 2, they've scored 94. And that was, again, against Stanford, and I think Stanford is still pretty good, although they might have been running out of gas after 2 straight road games against ranked opponents. So I do think Notre Dame is serious. And let me put it to you this way. I think this is an interesting game to play out, and I think maybe I'm ahead of myself. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, Notre Dame and Clemson finish the season undefeated. It's going to be so easy to say Notre Dame has the better resume and should be included in the playoff over Clemson with the way that Clemson has played and the weakness of their schedule and their resume thus far.
Nick Saban's newest opponent is the student fan base at Alabama.
Right.
Crazy.
Oh, Dan, when you are this good,
I know.
You've got to hunt for ghosts.
Joel, Saban is the problem. He makes the games boring because he's so good. He is
so good.
But he's the reason why these fans show up and they're sort of, or whatever. Let's do a drive-by and then let's go ahead to a party.
I will say this. It is hard to blame these fans because you've got to go back to the 1950s Oklahoma dynasty under Bud Wilkinson to have the level of dominance that you're seeing right now from Alabama. Now, did you know that going back to 2008, his second year, that they have been ranked number 1 at some point during the season in every single year? That's insane to me. Absolutely insane. When you think about the national recruiting bases that several programs have, when you think about the 85 scholarships, the amount of parity driven by all the television dollars that's given out generally as a rule, evenly across conferences, in particular, within the SEC. I think it's shocking what he's been able to do. So it's hard to blame the fans for what they do. I do know this, that the Alabama student ticket allotment is in a lottery basis, and it's in a rotation. So the students down there, one of our babysitters actually just is a freshman at Alabama. So she was explaining to me all of this summer before she went to college. She was saying that you've got to apply into the lottery in order to get tickets, and then you only get tickets to a couple of games. And one of the things that she was saying is the students are all praying that they don't get the Louisiana Lafayette game because no one wants to go. And then there you go. There's the ramifications. Nick Saban is mad at the podium.
Give me another game to keep an eye on this weekend.
I think LSU-Florida is a really good game because, quite frankly, I think Florida has the potential to upset LSU. I still think LSU is a bit overrated, and the reason is they've just got no consistency on offense. They played well offensively last week, and Burrow had his best game as a Tiger. There's no doubt about it. But before that, they had a hard time playing offense out of a wet paper bag. Let's be honest. So I think that's an interesting game because Florida, as they're getting better under Mullen, has a chance to maybe upset the Tigers.
Have a fun weekend there at the Red River Rivalry, the showdown. It's always fun at the state fair there. And you can watch the game. It's Texas and Oklahoma. Starts at noon Eastern on Fox. Good to visit with you, Joel. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it, Dan. At least I don't have to do a trophy presentation.
I think I made it through the entire interview without asking a question.
Yes. You opened your mic 8 times, and you never asked a true question.
I'm not proud of that, though.
But that was the goal.
Yeah, I know.
To have a conversation.
Yeah. You can have a conversation with questions.
Finish his statement was good.
I know. Finish the statement. ... And then I almost caught myself asking a question there. Like, no, you can't. Let's see if we can make it through the entire interview without asking a question.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.